this is Midnight in Exile, and welcome to a new segment on my channel, The Outrage Factory. With The Outrage Factory, I intend to take popular items in the news that have generated a lot of how dare yous, and break down whether or not there's really any reason for people to be so up in arms. Outrage is currently a big tool for controlling people, and I hate seeing people controlled by their emotions. So, with no further ado, I bring you to episode 1 of The Outrage Factory, Seeking Truth. This Saturday, a video popped up all over my Twitter and Facebook feeds. It was titled, "Sikh Politician Gets Verbally Harassed and Handles It Gracefully." A woman who looks and sounds like a young Edie Falco approaches a bearded man wearing a smart suit and a yellow turban while giving an address to a crowded room and has a loud confrontation with him.
What do you like better?
Hi, my name's Jennifer. I asked if there's a process. There isn't one, so I thought I'd start off.
Hold on, give me 1 second.
She begins, "Hi, my name's Jennifer. I asked if there's a process. There isn't one, so I thought I'd start off." The man, Jagmeet Singh, a Canadian MPP, is a bit taken aback by the interruption and asks the woman to give him a second. She continues, "Singh is holding 2 microphones, one to the room's PA and another assumedly going to the record deck of the media company whose sign is on it. As he speaks, he easily overpowers the woman's voice, and it's difficult to extract her every line. The woman quickly gets to her point. We know you're in bed with Sharia. We know you're in bed with the Muslim Brotherhood. We know by your votes." Some of Singh's people approach Jennifer, and she quickly becomes defensive and confrontational, snapping at them, "Don't touch me, don't anybody touch me, or I will call the police immediately." Singh's response is initially fumbling, but he seems to find his groove rather quickly.
So just 1 second. What do we believe in? We believe in love and courage, right? Love and courage. Love and courage.
So, 1 second, what do we believe in? We believe in love and courage, right? Love and courage. And the crowd goes wild. Over the course of the 4-minute video, the woman who identifies herself as Jennifer continues to hammer at the Canadian MPP with questions about whether or not he supports Sharia or has voted for policies that would support Sharia, while Canadian politician Jagmeet Singh plays to the crowd insisting that they support love and courage and that he and they support her in her right.
We support you. We love you. We all here, everyone in this room loves you. We all support you. We believe in your rights. We all believe in your rights. This room is a room filled of people that are loving.
The video was posted to Twitter and Facebook by Now This Media, a news app and site run by Huffington Post co-founder and former chairman Kenneth Lehrer, former Huffington Post CEO Eric Hippo, former head of production at Vice Media Stephen Bessler, and former head of video at New York Magazine Sarah Frank. The text overlays on the video read, "This lawmaker was ambushed by a racist rant. He responded with kindness. Jagmeet Singh helps lead one of Canada's main political parties, and this is one of his signature Jagmeet and greets. Sharia is a system of laws based on Islam. Singh is a practicing Sikh, not a Muslim." The protester eventually left, with emphasis on the words ambushed, kindness, main, political parties, Jagmeet and greets, Islam, and Sikh. The responses to the video are full of questions whether the woman in the video knows whether or not Jagmeet Singh is a Sikh and not a Muslim, whether she knows that they don't practice Sharia, or whether she even knows the differences between Sikhism and Muslim. There are tons of accusations of racism and stupidity and drug use and a whole lot of love and courage and kindness in them as well. "You're lucky I wasn't there to drag you out by the neck," says one guy. "Too bad someone didn't throat punch her," says another. "I'm not against someone else shoving this bitch's teeth down her throat. I actually encourage it." One person posted the woman's Facebook feed, "Wait till her employers find out." Another says, "Call them and let them know. Find out where her husband works, get him fired and make them homeless." And another says, "I work with her. I'm sure they'll find out soon enough." So there's a whole bunch of love and courage and tolerance and kindness for you. There's a whole bunch of defending her rights. Yeah, totally these people support that message. Totally. This is exactly what Jagmeet Singh is talking about when he says love and courage and kindness.
What do we believe in? We believe in love and courage, right? Love and courage.
Or maybe he's just using empty fucking platitudes. My immediate response wasn't so different. Who's this crazy woman? And does she know that this guy isn't a Muslim? I asked. I couldn't help but notice, though, that Singh didn't actually address anything she said. He immediately used misdirection to change the topic to boilerplate, feel-good leftist politico-speak about love and courage and inclusion and economic justice and everybody's favorite buzzword, diversity, instead of actually addressing anything she was saying. As Jennifer continued to pepper Singh with accusations of support for Sharia law and the Muslim Brotherhood, the MPP addressed her saying, "This is a room filled with love, people that are loving and that support you, and that we're not intimidated by hatefulness." There's another good buzzword, hatefulness. Everything that questions you or is against you is hatefulness, huh? All right. Does anybody else notice that Singh didn't address a single one of Jennifer's accusations? If you love and support someone, aren't you going to address their concerns about your policies as a politician? Why would Singh misdirect to the broken record of love and courage and diversity and inclusion but not answer any of Jennifer's questions? "We know how you vote," she says, and "Where is he going to stop with the Sharia? At what point is he going to stop with the Sharia? When we're throwing gays off buildings?" I could tell rather quickly by the Now This video and its text narration and the common response to this video that the reaction that you're supposed to have is that Jennifer is a dumb racist bigot who can't tell the difference between Islam and Sikhism and who thinks everyone in a turban secretly supports ISIS and the one world caliphate. More importantly, that nobody is supposed to ask the most important question of all. Why would this woman accuse Jagmeet Singh of being in bed with the Muslim Brotherhood and voting to impose Sharia law on Canada? Well, let's take a look at Singh and see what we can find out. Born Jagmeet Dhaliwal in 1979, Singh started out as a criminal defense lawyer at Panofsky's before starting his own practice, Singh Law, with brother Guratan Singh. As a lawyer, he offered free legal rights seminars in Ontario and pro bono legal counsel for, quote, people and community organizations in need. He stopped using his surname of Dhaliwal in favor of Singh while running for a seat in Parliament in the 2011 elections as an NDP candidate. Dhaliwal, now Singh's stated reason is that he wanted to reject the inequality of the Sikh caste system and to express, quote, a spiritual belief in egalitarian society where all enjoy equitable access to rights and justice. He was defeated in that federal election by opponent Bal Gosal. He did, however, get a seat in Ontario provincial elections that year and was appointed in the 40th Parliament of Ontario as the NDP critic for the Attorney General of Ontario and for the Consumer Services and serves as NDP Deputy House Leader. Singh announced his intention to run for leadership of the New Democratic Party of Canada on May 15, 2017. By all appearances, Jagmeet Singh is a progressive candidate pushing for progressive politics using progressive language. Given the constant courting of Islam and Islamicization by progressives over the last 2 years, this should raise an eyebrow. The Sharia law that Jennifer is referencing is Jagmeet Singh's opposition to Quebec's Bill 62, that is aimed at banning the wearing of face coverings by government workers, those providing government services, and those seeking those government services in government offices and buildings. Those in opposition to the bill argue that it constitutes discrimination against Muslims and encodes it into law. This is nothing short of complete and total dishonesty and manipulation. The purpose of banning facial coverings by government employees while serving the public and the public while interfacing with government employees is so that either can be identified and identifiable. This prevents government workers from disservicing the public and then failing to be identified in that course, as well as people collecting government services from committing fraud or any other crime on government property, and at least making them identifiable should they attempt to do so. Any argument about religious tolerance or intolerance on either side is complete and total dishonesty and misses the entire point of the bill. You should be able to identify any and every government employee that you interact with. Government employees should absolutely be able to identify any and every person who they provide services to. That's it. That's all there is to this. Opposing this ban is nothing short of opportunism. That doesn't mean that one should be prevented from wearing their religious items in private, nor necessarily in public. That's a whole nother debate. But if you're acting in the service of the government or collecting services from the government, your face should be clear and identifiable to prevent you from committing or getting away with any misdeed or mistreatment of that government employee or member of the public. But Singh says on the matter, as an act of solidarity, I think it's important to acknowledge that the Muslim community is facing a very significant amount of hate and Islamophobia, and it is up to all of us to stand in solidarity with the community. He continues, this is disproportionately going to impact Muslims. That is not cool, brah. Who cares if it's fucking cool? Look at all those buzzwords. Solidarity, community, hate, Islamophobia. Pure fucking pandering on the part of Singh. There is no reason that anyone should have all but their eyes covered when providing or collecting services from the government, and every reason not to. Opposition to the niqab ban in government services is a strike against Singh as far as I'm concerned. It shows that he's willing to abandon function in favor of pandering. That alone, though, does not constitute being in bed with either Sharia law nor the Muslim Brotherhood. But it does show that he is at least willing to cater to the emotional demands of advocates for the former for the purpose of shoring up votes and positive public image. Another component of accusations that Singh supports Sharia law is his support for Motion 103 or M103 that states, the government should A. recognize the need to quell the increasing public climate of hate and fear, condemn Islamophobia and all forms of systemic racism and religious discrimination, and I. develop a whole-of-government approach to reducing or eliminating systemic racism and religious discrimination, including Islamophobia, and the committee should make recommendations that the government may use to better reflect the enshrined rights and freedoms in the Constitution Acts, including the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedom. Critic of M103, Brad Trost, said of the motion, we in Canada shouldn't have a thought police, and we need to talk to discuss the serious threats tied in with extreme Islam, with jihadism, and we need to have the freedom of speech to do it. The deliberate blurring of having a dissenting opinion and labeling anyone who dares to even have a public conversation about the real issues of Islam, whether it's the treatment of women, the separation of mosque and state, nonviolent solution to problems, proper integration and assimilation of refugees, proper vetting of refugees, terrorism. Rebel Media founder Ezra Levant says of M103, there are so many live and genuine public policy issues that Justin Trudeau wants to swallow up whole and call every single one of those issues Islamophobia, and if you dare criticize his massive, unvetted, unintegratable Muslim migration, that's Islamophobia. If this ever became law, it could mean 2 years in jail for anybody who criticizes Islam, said Dr. Charles McVetti of Canada Christian College, who offered his facilities after a rally against M103 had to change venues when the hotel they had originally booked received a, quote-unquote, threatening call. Advocates of the motion dismiss concerns over M103 leading to or equating blasphemy law and insist that this is not a bill nor a law. It does not introduce Sharia law, as some people have suggested, nor would it ban freedom of speech. Rona Ambrose is correct. A motion is neither a bill nor a law. However, it is reasonable to argue that a motion is the zygotic stage of what could eventually be a law, and that the purpose of this motion is to inform lawmaking policy. And it isn't like Canadians have no reason at all to fear encroachment upon their freedom to speak by government. Canadian Bill C-16, which equates to a compulsory speech law, passed with a vote of 67 to 11 in June of this year. Professor Gad Sad of Concordia University on the Rubin Report said of the bill, literally anything that I teach in my evolutionary psychology courses could be construed as, quote, transphobic systemic violence. Sad's concern is that his professional recognition of gender binary could, in accordance with C-16, result in fines and jail time. That bill is proof that Canadian government is willing to go as far as encoding compulsory speech into law to pander to the emotional demands of their citizenry. The part of M103 that stands out to me is that it demands that the government, quote, quell the increasing climate of hate and fear, unquote, and that it, quote, condemn Islamophobia. Hate, fear, Islamophobia. This is totalitarian if anything ever was, and when a government polices thoughts at the behest of a religious ideology, that government becomes theocracy. On Thursday, May 18th, 2017, Jagmeet Singh, voting as Dalaval, voted yay in favor of Motion 103, declaring express support for it as a policy. So, Jagmeet Singh opposes the banning of face coverings, specifically the niqab, and he supports the codifying of control and possibly punishment of thought and speech that is critical of Islam. By this, it is reasonable to argue that Singh is at least pandering to those who wish to practice conservative Islamic principles, that is, the constant and compulsory covering up of women and the control of thought and speech that is critical of Islam and Muslim. But is there anything more? On February 9th, YouTube channel Justin Trudeau Derangement Syndrome published a video by the woman who confronted Singh, revealed to be Jennifer Bush.
I went to confront Jagmeet Singh about his policies. First off, I recognize the fact that he's a Sikh and not a Muslim. My concern was his policies, what he's voting for, what that represents for Canadians.
I went to confront Jagmeet Singh about his policies. First off, I recognize that he's a Sikh and not a Muslim. My concern was his policies, what he's voting for. He strongly opposed the niqab ban in Quebec. That's Sharia. He strongly supports M103. What is that? A blasphemy law. Yes, Sharia. Whether or not it constitutes Sharia is beside the point at the moment. The fact is that her assertions that Singh opposes the niqab ban and supports M103 are factual, as I've established. Bush continues, I am not a racist. I strongly support the Hindus. We work together on a regular basis to get political ideas moving. Color, race, religion, they're really not the point here. The point is the policies. What does this man vote for? And I agree. That Singh opposes the niqab ban and supports what could very well become de facto blasphemy law ought to cause one to pause and ask if the MPP is in fact courting Sharia advocates for the purpose of shoring up a voting bloc. If he doesn't, he ought to be able to state clearly that he does not support imposition nor practice of Sharia law without equivocation as a response to these allegations, something that he firmly refused to do when Bush confronted him, opting instead to broken record buzzwords like love, courage, inclusion, diversity to misdirect from, distract from, and reframe the allegations that Bush was making. Bush continues in her video with some even more interesting allegations. The first of which starts off unintelligible but picks up to say something, man that's been denied entry to India for questionable comments that have to do with human rights violations against Sikhs. That's interesting. What human rights violations against Sikhs could she be talking about? And is this man Jagmeet Singh? She goes on, Khalistan Sikhs blowing up Air India jets. Khalistan Sikhs killing Indian dudes in India. Nothing to say about that, not a word. He's not concerned about that. Concerned about everything else, but not concerned about that. All right, what is a Khalistan? What is a Khalistan Sikh? Who are these Khalistan Sikhs? What do they have to do with blowing up Air India jets and killing Indian dudes in India, and what does any of that have to do with Jagmeet Singh? Well, I did a little looking. To Bush's first allegations, Singh was in fact denied entry to India in December of 2013. He claims that, quote, the suggestion was, and what I believe, is that it was because of my human rights work and being an outspoken critic of the track record of India. Indian Consul General Akhilesh Mishra wrote in an email titled, Re Jagmeet Singh, anyone indulging in, directly or indirectly, attacking India's sovereignty and territorial integrity is not welcome in India. So, what did Singh say that got him banned from India? While I cannot find any of his statements from 2013 regarding India and human rights violations, I think that it is reasonable to believe that they fall somewhere in line with statements that he made this year at the anniversary of Operation Blue Star, that the government of India initiated a genocidal campaign against the Sikh minority, and that the Indian military killed thousands of innocent people in just one day. This genocide continued for the next 20 years. Across Punjab, Sikh youth disappeared, torture was rampant, and the Sikhs endured relentless state-sanctioned terrorism as an attempt to extinguish the Sikh community. While these statements may reasonably justify Singh's banning from India according to their policy, they would seem to make him stand out in defense of victims of human rights violations, and I don't think it would be very hard to make a case that India has a very troubled history of violating the human rights of its people, specifically ethnic minorities and lower castes. But is there more going on here? There just may be. Balwant Singh Rajwana was sentenced in India to be hanged by the neck until dead on March 31, 2012. He was a member of Babar Khalsa, a group declared a terrorist organization and banned by the US, Canada, UK, the EU, and India. They were responsible for the bombing of Air India Flight 182 in 1985 over Ireland that took the lives of 268 Canadians, 27 Brits, and 24 Indians, including 82 to 86 children and 6 infants. The bombing of Air India Flight 182 was the deadliest terror attack involving planes until September 11, 2001. It's speculated that the bombing of Air India Flight 182 was retaliation for Operation Blue Star, that Jagmeet Singh was referring to in his statements about the Indian government's alleged genocide attempts against the Sikh minority. To say that Operation Blue Star is controversial would be an understatement. It was an op by the Indian military under Prime Minister Indira Gandhi in June of 1984, whose stated purpose was to, quote, establish control over the Harmandir Sahib complex in Amritsar, Punjab, and to remove militant religious leader Janal Singh Bhindranwale and his militant armed followers from the complex building, unquote. The politics of the Sikh minority and their standing in India could probably take up an entire series of videos. Rather than get sucked into the minutiae of it, let's focus on a couple facts. First, the official death toll of Operation Blue Star is 500 Sikh militants and 830 Indian military. According to the Wikipedia article, some suggest that civilian casualties numbered 20,000 and military casualties were over 5,000. As a response to Operation Blue Star in October of 1984, Indira Gandhi's Sikh bodyguards, Satvant Singh and Beant Singh, assassinated the Indian Prime Minister by shooting her with their sidearms 33 times between them as she walked in the garden of her home. One of the guards who apprehended them summarily executed Beant Singh in a closed room. Satvant Singh and Kahar Singh, who was apprehended as an accomplice, were both sentenced to hanging. The assassination of Indira Gandhi in 1984 sparked what is known as the 1984 anti-Sikh riots, or the 1984 Sikh massacre, or the 1984 genocide of Sikhs, where mobs of Indians, including members of Indian government, hunted down and murdered somewhere around 8,000 Sikhs across the country as a response to the assassination of the Prime Minister. Like I said, it isn't going to be very difficult to make a reasoned case to establish broad human rights violations by the government of India. I would, though, have a hard time making any case for terrorism against any innocent citizen of any country, like that committed in the 1985 Air India bombing, or more relevant, the August 31st, 1995 bombing that Balwant Singh Rajwana was to be hanged for that resulted in the death of 18 people, including Indian Chief Minister Beant Singh. Rajwana wasn't the actual bomber, though. It was a suicide bomb, and the man in the vest was Dilawar Singh Babar. Rajwana was the backup bomber and participated in the planning, some asserting that he was the mastermind. Both men were members of the terrorist group Babar Khalsa, one of many groups that act both militarily and politically to achieve the ends of establishing Khalistan, a Sikh state independent of Indian rule. This is the Khalistan that Jennifer Bush was talking about in her response video. It is worth mentioning that Khalistan does constitute support for an ethno-state, but we're here to find out whether or not Jagmeet Singh himself is guilty of supporting terrorist activity. In his 2012 article for The Sun, backup bomber and his sympathizers, Tariq Fatah writes, NDP Justice critic Jagmeet Singh stood up in the Ontario legislature and suggested Ontario use its trade relations as a bargaining chip to save the backup suicide bomber. In his speech, the NDP Justice critic failed to tell his colleagues the man he was promoting was a convicted terrorist who had a hand in assassinating the equivalent of the Ontario Premier. I asked MPP Jagmeet Singh whether he considered Rajwana a terrorist and why he didn't mention this fact in his speech. He refused to answer my question. I asked him if he supported the Khalistan movement and got no answer. Fatah continues. The questions asked were straightforward and should have been easy to answer, but apparently Jagmeet Singh and many other supporters of the convicted terrorist think otherwise. It's a sad day for Canada when our lawmakers won't clearly condemn the acts of a terrorist when invited to do so. It's more evidence of how multiculturalism is permitting the most outrageous of ideas to take root in our society. By this, it is reasonable to argue that Jagmeet Singh wasn't banned from India for his condemnation of human rights violations, but instead his tacit support of them and those who commit them, namely Babar Khalsa terrorist Balwant Singh Rajwana. It should at least be suspicious that Jagmeet, the stylish and colorfully turbaned love and courage supporter, anti-hate crusader, chooses to stand up against India's death penalty when it is about to be applied to an established Khalistani terrorist responsible for the death of 18 people. Let's go back to Jennifer Bush's allegations against Singh and see how they play out. And then now this video, Bush makes two main allegations against Singh. First, that Jagmeet Singh advocates or supports advocates for implementation of Sharia law in Canada. And second, that he is in bed with the Muslim Brotherhood. In the second video, she elaborates on her allegations and states that 3. Singh has been banned from India for his statements on human rights violations. With a little research, we can argue that Khalistani Sikhs blowing up Air India jets is an allegation. 4. That Singh supports the terrorist acts of Baba Kali terrorists who blew up Air India Flight 182, and possibly that Khalistani Sikhs killing Indian dudes in India translates to 5. Supporting Balwant Singh Rajwani's participation in the suicide bombing of India Chief Minister Beant Singh and 17 others, as well as a general statement that 6. He supports general terrorist activity of Khalistani separatist groups internationally. At no point in this rally or in his response to it did Jagmeet Singh address any of these allegations. So I'm going to address them for him. I have determined the answers to these allegations to be as following. 1. Singh opposes the banning of face coverings by government service providers and public service collectors. He also supports Bill M-103 that could lead to punishing speech and thought that is critical of Islam. While this does not constitute an express support of Sharia law, these two things do play out in favor of those who do. 2. I have found no evidence of Jagmeet Singh taking Congress with the Muslim Brotherhood. It is possible that Bush was using the term generally to refer to those in support of Sharia law, or even that she was misconstruing alleged support of Khalistani terrorist groups with that of the Muslim Brotherhood, but I'll be honest and say that I think that Jennifer Bush was a little out of her league in this confrontation. I think that she might have a general idea of what she wants to say, but I'm willing to doubt that she's done as much research as even I've done just for this video. You should recognize, though, that researched or not, that doesn't make any of her allegations false. Singh needs to be innocent of what she alleges for that to be the case. To the third allegation, Singh has in fact been banned from India. That is not a fiction. Whether it is because of statements critical of the government or in support of a convicted terrorist remains unclarified by either. 4. I have not found any statements by Jagmeet Singh that are supportive of the terrorist bombing of Air India Flight 182. 5. Jagmeet Singh did speak on behalf of sparing Balwant Singh Rajwana the death penalty in India. Balwant Singh Rajwana is a Khalistani terrorist who participated in the murder of 18 people. I would further posit that this is a conspicuous choice of hill for Singh to choose to defend against India's death penalty on. And finally, 6. I have not found any statements by Jagmeet Singh that are supportive of any other terrorist activity by Khalistani separatists or extremists in Canada nor India, nor anywhere else in the world. MPP Singh, though, seems to be involved with groups that support a Khalistani ethno-state. And that leads me to wonder what his stated opinions on the establishment of ethno-states for other ethnic groups is. Jennifer Bush's confrontation with Jagmeet Singh seems to come at a convenient moment for him, where he has a need to establish himself as a candidate for such nebulous terms as love and courage and diversity and inclusion and economic justice. But she doesn't do herself many favors. Her confrontation was erratic and aggressive and possibly even hyperbolic. There have been allegations that Bush is affiliated with the Canadian activist group Rise Canada. They seem to be geared towards prevention of Islamic encroachment on Canadian society and government. You might argue that that is anti-Islam or anti-Muslim, but their site states that we defend Canadian values which often conflict with the Islamic way of thinking, and at least makes claims to encouraging diversity within their ranks. Regarding Jennifer Bush, though, Rise Canada clarifies that some are suggesting that Jennifer is a, quote, member of Rise Canada. This is not true. Jennifer is a heroic independent activist who has attended events and rallies with many groups, including Pegida, Suffragettes, JDL, Croops, the Hindu-led Concerned Parents of Canada, as well as our activities. She is not a member, but a supporter. She went to the Jagmeet Singh event of her own volition. We agree with Jennifer's message of constructive criticism of his policies. We think it is sad that Jagmeet Singh did not actually listen and engage with her. Politicians should listen to their constituents rather than overpower them with microphones, even when they are being criticized. I have seen no statements on the RiseCanada.com site in support of ethnic discrimination nor establishment of an ethnostate. On Saturday, September 9th, Jagmeet Singh issued the following statement. As part of my campaign to become leader of one of Canada's largest political parties, I held an event in the city where my political career began. I walked into a room filled with supporters and old friends. As soon as I was introduced, a person confronted me with angry, hateful, and Islamophobic comments. I had to act fast and set the tone for the room. Despite this person's anger and hate, I told them that we love them, respect them, and would promote their rights. I chose not to answer the question asked because I didn't accept the premise. Many people have commented that I could have just said I'm not a Muslim. In fact, many have clarified that I'm actually Sikh. While I'm proud of who I am, I purposely didn't go down that road because it suggests their hate would be okay if I was Muslim. We all know it's not. I didn't answer the question because my response to Islamophobia has never been, I'm not a Muslim. It has always been and will be that hate is wrong. Once allowed to grow, hate doesn't pick and choose. It spreads like fire. Once we say it's okay to hate someone based on their religion, we're also opening the door to hate based on race, gender, sexuality, and more. It's important that we stand united against all forms of hate. It takes love to understand that we're all in this together. It takes courage to come together, demand better, and dream bigger, so that we can build a world where no one is left behind. With love and courage, Jagmeet Singh, candidate for leader of Canada's NDP. What a load of evasive shuck and jive bullshit. Singh's response is loaded with the same fucking buzzwords. Love, courage, hate, Islamophobia, blah 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 blah, hope and change my balls. He insists that he supports Bush's rights, but that's patently false. He does not support her right to see the face of the government officials that she might deal with so that she can identify them. Nor does he support her right to speak and think freely. In fact, he opposes those rights. But he loads the crowd up with manipulative, touchy-feely politico-speak so that they will feel instead of think, when he should be directly addressing her allegations. All this "I didn't accept the premise" garbage is just more evasive, thought-terminating cliché, and he knows it. He knows exactly what he's doing. Jagmeet Singh is an intelligent man and a savvy politician. I don't know that I think that he actually supports Sharia, the Muslim Brotherhood, or Khalistani terrorism. I wouldn't say that he is in bed with any of them. But I would most certainly assert that he is absolutely flirting with them in hopes of shoring up votes and pandering to a couple demographics that he might be able to consolidate into one increasingly powerful voting bloc. And if I were Canadian, I would be very suspicious of his intentions, his actions, his policies, and his votes. If people like Jagmeet Singh are elected to positions of power, whose pandering has resulted in the removal of advertisements that are seen as immodest, it's resulted in articles giving makeup advice to victims of acid attacks, and it's resulted in the covering up of child grooming rape gangs, Canadians should think very strongly about whether that's something they want happening in their country. In an interview with GQ in February of this year, asked if he could see himself taking on Justin Trudeau in federal politics, Singh answered, "It's something I'm considering." I would be very concerned about Singh's evasiveness, his use of manipulation, and his political pandering to demographics that could be contrary to Canada's best interests if I were Canadian. Because it looks like Singh has the office of Prime Minister in his sights. This is Midnight in Exile, bringing you the cynical shit of Episode 1 of the Outrage Factory, Seeking Truth. How'd you like it? How'd I do? Please, like and subscribe and leave feedback in the comments. If you want to be notified when a new video comes out, go ahead and hit that bell. I have no set schedule for videos yet, but if my channel grows to a point where that's reasonable, I'm definitely interested in better and more output. This has been Midnight in Exile, and don't forget those shades.